It really doesn't matter if you know how to sing. The only thing that matters is the girl that you bring. So when I saw you sitting there just asking for some curly hair, I knew that I was getting where I wanted to be. Mael, one of the best songwriters in rock music. One of the funniest. That's just one of hundreds of witty, funny lines that he has written over the years. Who am I talking about? No, not Nickelback. I'm talking about the Sparks. Or as they are better known as, Sparks. I kind of feel guilty that I've done so many rock music vlogs and I rarely ever do a video on Sparks, and they are actually probably my second favorite artist of all time. It used to be U2, between U2 and Sparks, but lately it's been, Sparks have gone to number 2 for sure. And so I'm going to hopefully quickly rate all of their albums, and they've got a lot of albums, and it's kind of difficult to I'm rating them from their worst to their best, and their very worst and their very best was sort of easy for me to do, but it's all of the ones in between which it's hard for me to say which was hard for me to do. And one of the things I love about doing these rock music vlogs, when I do mention a band like Sparks or whoever else, sometimes viewers like you actually check the artist out, and I've gotten messages back where they've become fans. And I'm not even ever expecting that, so it's kind of like, whoa, they actually became a fan of that artist. So I hope if you have not heard of Sparks, you do check them out. But the only thing that's difficult with them is they have such a variety of music. You've just got to hear more than one song. So just check them out. Good songs to start with maybe are their biggest hit single in Britain, This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us from 1974. Dick Around is one I think a lot of people would like. Just check them out. Here we go. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 of their albums to go through. So this might be an hour video. My least favorite of theirs is, it's a fairly recent album. It is The Seduction of Ingmar Bergman by Sparks. It's based on a radio broadcast, and it's not like it's bad or anything, it's just I've just never gotten into it. And it's my problem. And there's you know, quite a bit of spoken word in this and all that, and yeah, it's just my least favorite, but it's not bad. And the next is Terminal Jive, which was probably the very first album of Sparks. I became a fan in 1974, and this one was released in 1980, and it's definitely the first album of theirs that I was disappointed in. Not that I disliked it, but it was a mediocre follow-up to their amazing album Number 1 in Heaven. But I still like, I think When I'm With You, which was a number 1 hit song in Germany, sold over 1 million copies. I love that song. But then some of the other ones, Just Because You Love Me, Rock and Roll People in a Disco World, When I'm With You, instrumental, which is just filler as far as I'm concerned. But I also love Stereo. So, yeah. Good album, but just not a great album. And some people, like, another great thing about Sparks is so many funny, original, excellent album covers. But some, I don't think all fans love this album cover, but I've always loved it. Interior design. And this is when they started recording in their own Sparks studio. And if I remember, I'll put the years for each of these albums in somewhere here. And it's just, for me, a pretty weak album. It's not showing their humor enough, their personality. But that being said, it's still got So Important, which I love. It rocks. I love the guitar solo in it. But then the rest of it kind of is so. You Got a Hold of My Heart is really nice. And I've really lately appreciated The Toughest Girl in Town. I love that song now. So it's a good album, but not one of my favorites. And I wasn't sure if I would include their one and only live album, but I thought I would. Two Hands, One Mouth, a double CD. And this is just Ron Mael and Russell Mael, the two brothers. In concert alone, it's just keyboards and vocals, which might sound kind of boring, but it isn't boring. When you see it, I saw them in Toronto. This is where I got the t-shirt. And it's really entertaining. Not as much just to listen to it on a CD, though, for me. So I've rarely played this, but it's still interesting. Like, it's still good. Another very funny album cover. Plagiarism, which is Sparks, Ron and Russell Mael, plagiarizing their very own songs, reworking them. And for the most part, it's very good. Some of it's excellent. Some of it's good. Some of it's very good. It depends. They do two songs with the band Faith No More, This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us, which I'm not that crazy about, mainly because of Mike Patton's, or Peyton, however you pronounce it, his vocals. But the other one, Something for the Girl with Everything, I love. That one's excellent. And my favorites on this are the harder-edged version of Angst in My Pants. I love the original, but this one I love even more. And there's two or three songs that didn't better the original, maybe more than that. But something like Amateur Hour with Erasure, I love that. So yeah, it's a fun album to listen to, but not one of my favorites. Now, Sparks fans, there's some that love their 80s output and some that don't. I love their 80s output. But the weakest of their really strong succession of albums, like Angst and Sparks in Outer Space, this is their weakest at that point, would be Pulling Rabbits from the Hat, with another superb album cover. And it's mainly the production. The production is what kind of turns me off. And also the songs aren't quite as strong as the previous albums. The humor's not as funny. It's a bit more of a serious album, but I love Pulling Rabbits Out of a Hat, the very first song. Progress. With All My Might should have been a hit single. I love that. And so yeah, overall, it's a very good album. And it's just, I wish it was better recorded. Now, for about 5 years, and this is before the internet, Sparks just seemed to disappear. They stopped making albums, and I honestly thought they were done. And then one day I'm in the record store and I see this. Sparks, the all-new album. And it's called Gratuitous Sax and Senseless Violence. Try saying that 5 times. I can't even say it once. And to be honest, when I first took it home, I was kind of disappointed because I was hoping they got back to the rock type music. But this is more of a dance kind of album. But it's damn good. And they had a big hit. Was it in Germany? I'm wrong about, I said Germany for When I'm With You, and that was in France. I get confused easily. They had a big hit in Germany with When Do I Get to Sing My Way? Great song. But yeah, very strong songs, and they're definitely back with this album. At the time, I wished it was more of a rock album. Now this one, I'm not sure if it had an outer cover, because I'm missing it at the moment, but it's this one. All it had was a circle for a ball, and it's called Balls. And some fans really don't care for this album, but I've always really liked it. I like it more than Gratuitous Sax. And once again, it's more of a dance kind of an album. The Calm Before the Storm, one of my very favorite Sparks songs. The Angels, where Russell Mael swears. He says the F word. I thought that was great, because you're not expecting it. How to Get Your Ass Kicked. More Than a Sex Machine. I even love It's Educational, Irreplaceable. God, I can't talk today. Irreplaceable. Bullet Train. It's the Bullet Train, Bullet Train. I think it's a fun album. And the production for me, it's great. This is also called the Yellow Album. Now this one used to be way lower in my ratings of Sparks albums, but I bought the newly remastered version, and also the one I had before was called The Best of Sparks, which was like lying to the public because it wasn't the best of Sparks. It was just their album music that you can dance to. There's the original album cover. And I will say this does contain, for me, the worst Sparks song of them all. And there's not very many Sparks songs that I dislike. But on this, they do a version of Stevie Wonder's Fingertips. And it really sucks. It's god-awful. Everything about it. The production, Russell Mael's vocals, the music, background vocals, the smell. It's just, yeah. But my favorite on this would probably be The Scene, which I didn't used to appreciate as much as I do now. But it's all great. And of course, Change, which isn't on here, but is on some of the versions of this album, is an awesome song. So this is excellent. And you also notice that I love, I'm all over the place with albums that I love throughout their career, because they've always, they've had highs and lows all throughout their career, and they always come back strong. They always make great albums. And here's another great one with a great cover, Sparks. See, and it's also awesome that it comes with this light. It looks like a light bulb. Sparks in Outer Space. And there's the video for this called All You Ever Think About Is Sex. If you happen to watch it on YouTube, just watch the whole thing and you'll be laughing. Trust me. There's their band that they were They were originally called Bates Motel, and I saw them live. I saw Sparks in 1982. Great rock band. And Cool Places, the very first song with Jane, I don't know how you pronounce her last name, Jane Weedland of the Go-Go's, was Sparks' one and only top 40 hit in the States. Popularity is probably my favorite song on this, but except for Please Baby Please, which I'm just iffy about, the whole album is great. Another superb album cover. I really haven't listened to this as much lately, but when it came out in 2008, I loved it. So, yeah, good album, really good album. It's got the song, if you're a Smiths fan, it's got the song Lighten Up Morrissey, because Morrissey is a fan of Sparks. And probably my favorite is Strange Animal, because it's all over the place, and it rocks. This is considered by probably quite a few Sparks fans as one of their best, if not their best album. Not for me though, but it's definitely, I mean, we're getting into the really excellent stuff now here. A Little Beethoven, an album by Sparks. And what's really weird about this album is a lot of the songs, they repeat things so much that they repeat the titles. It's really repetitive, and it's like, oh my god, it's just the same thing over and over. But once you've listened to the songs 2 or 3 times, you give it a chance, you finally, yeah, there's more to it. And probably, well, definitely one of their best songs is My Baby's Taking Me Home. A lot of Sparks fans think it's one of their best songs. So check that out on YouTube and play it more than once. And besides that, Suburban Homeboy is another song you should try and check out on YouTube because it's very funny and it's great. It's a great song. They're all great. Ugly Guys with Beautiful Girls. I Married Myself. Now this was their 7th album, so when this came out, introducing Sparks, I thought it was such a weird title, but it's because, I don't know why. Well, I guess they were with Columbia Records at the time, and this was their first album with Columbia Records in Europe, I believe, because I know Big Beat came out on Columbia Records. I don't know. Or I guess maybe it's like it was a fresh start for them. And the funny thing about this is I had a friend who hated Sparks. But when this album came out, because this was more of a commercial poppy, rocky album, he ended up buying it because he liked it. And I love it. It's, yeah, I can't really explain things that well. That's why I don't review albums. Just check it out for yourself, okay? You gotta check out everything by Sparks. And then, the album previous to that one, Big Beat, except for the production, which is kinda, the drums are mixed too loud and the keyboards are kind of in the background. But besides that, I love the songs, except for Everybody's Stupid, which I've never particularly liked. But my favorite on this is Confusion. And the song I attempted to sing at the very start is on this. It's called Screwed Up. But hilarious lyrics as usual also. I'm getting tired. So we're getting into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, the top 10. Number 10. Womp That Sucker. This was after their kind of disco dancey era in the late 70s, early 80s. They finally came back to rock And I love this album so much. And I still do. And the production is by Mac, who also had produced Queen. And my favorite song on this would be, I don't know, I love them all. Maybe That's Not Nastasia, because the ending is so annoying. See, sometimes Sparks can be annoying with Russell's vocals, but I think they do that on purpose, and it's so annoying that you love it, if that makes sense. Number 9, one of their more recent albums, Hello, Young Lovers. And definitely check out Dick Around. If you do on YouTube, you'd probably be listening to the edited version of it, but the original on this album is like, at least I think it's like 6 minutes long or whatever. And but the whole album is so damn good. That's all I gotta say. On to the next one. Their very first album, Sparks, although this was first released as Half Nelson. And I won't get into the whole story, but they re-released this as Sparks, and it still didn't sell. And I'm Facebook friends with the drummer. Not trying to brag or anything. Oh, and one other small little thing. This was produced by Todd friggin' Rundgren. Yeah. And my favorite song on this would possibly be No More Mr. Nice Guys. Not the Alice Cooper song. I believe Sparks recorded No More Mr. Nice Guys before Mr. Alice Cooper did. But I've been wrong before. And so number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7. Number 7. Number 7. I should have done that with number 9. Their second album, A Woofer in Tweeter's Clothing, or as it's better known as, A Tweeter in Woofer's Clothing. Okay, that wasn't funny. And I always thought this album cover was weird. And there's the back cover that isn't blurry. And what happened here is the drummer had pushed Ron Mael when they took the picture, and they ended up using that as the cover. I had first heard of Sparks in 1974 with Kimono My House and Propaganda and Indiscreet in 1975, and then I went back and I bought these 2 albums. And when I first heard them, I thought they were so weird, and I didn't even think I liked them, especially this one. But you know, some bands, you have to listen to them a few times to really get it, and especially with Sparks. And I love this album. And my favorite song is Whippings and Apologies. Oh my God, that song rocks. If you ever hear it, if you haven't heard it before, you might find the vocals annoying. But like I said, give it a chance. Listen to it more than once, and you might actually love it. Here Comes Bob, one of Ron Mael's, he has so many brilliant songs that he's written, but that's one of them. So yeah, great album. Number 6. Probably my favorite Sparks album cover, Angst in My Pants. And this is the year they appeared on Saturday Night Live. And my favorite, probably one of my all-time favorite songs is The Decline and Fall of Me, which is actually a song about their lack of chart success. And how many bands would actually write a song about not doing very well on the charts? But once again, humor. And yeah. I can see the Sparks fans watching this thinking right now, boy, that guy sucks at reviewing. Number 5. Propaganda, 1974. They sure got into lots of situations back in the day. And like Kimono My House, this one was produced by Muff Winwood, who is Steve Winwood's brother. I can't get the booklet out. That's my favorite song on the album. And I love all the songs on this, but maybe my favorite would be, at the moment, Who Don't Like Kids. You don't realize how brave Sparks were back in the day. They were a rock band. And suddenly, they made what they called back in the day a disco album. But it wasn't really, it's an electronic album. And they were one of the first. And then of course later on there's Pet Shop Boys, Erasure, and all of these other bands. But number 1 in heaven. As soon as I heard it, it was totally different, but I totally loved it. And they had a couple of big hit singles on this in England, Beat the Clock and Number 1 in Heaven. Produced by Giorgio Moroder from that movie I can't think of at the moment. It was a really good movie though, and he also produced Donna Summer. Yeah. Number 3, I wasn't sure if I would include this or not, because you know what? It's not really Sparks, but it is Sparks, because they're with Franz Ferdinand in the band FFS, which I just saw in concert a few months ago in Toronto, and oh my God, they were good. Oh my God. This is definitely, I will never get tired of listening to this. I love every song on the album. I have so many favorites on this. One of them is Little Guy from the Suburbs, which has always reminded me of David Bowie. And so if you like David Bowie, you might like Little Guy from the Suburbs by FFS. But Johnny Delusional, Collaborations Don't Work. What a name for a song of 2 artists collaborating. Collaborations Don't Work. It's just so brilliant. The only song that I find a little weaker than the others, well, maybe not even weak, but it's just not one of my favorites, is the song Piss Off. But other than that, I love this album. Number 2, which is most Sparks fans' number 1, and their best-selling album, Kimono My House, featuring their number 2 hit single, This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us. I'm also Facebook friends with this guy, Martin Gordon, bass guitarist. This is the very first Sparks album I ever heard. I first saw them on the TV show, The Midnight Special, and I was in utter shock watching them. Visually, they're like nothing you've ever seen, especially back in the 70s. And musically, it's, especially back then, Russell always sang with a high-pitched voice, not all the time now, but back then he did, and it was just such a shock. And the next day I went out and bought the album. I listened to it and I threw it in the garbage. But luckily I picked it back out of the garbage and I gave it another chance, and it's now my number 2 favorite Sparks album. And the best song, I guess, is This Town Ain't Big Enough for Both of Us, followed very closely by Here in Heaven. I hope some of you check out Sparks. This is why I'm doing the video. And now for number 1. Produced by the one and only Tony Visconti. And I forgot to mention, he also produced the Plagiarism album. He produced David Bowie's albums, some of his albums. and he produced Indiscreet, my absolute favorite. This is like the Beatles' White Album as done by Sparks because there's such a variety of music in it. It's got everything except the kitchen sink. And my favorite song on this is probably Hospitality on Parade, especially because of the guitar that kicks in near the end. I just love that guitar. But the whole album, I love the whole album. So, that's it. I'm finally done. I hope you leave comments below, and especially Sparks fans on the Facebook pages watching this. I hope you come to YouTube and leave comments too, not just on the Facebook page. Help support Sparks. Spread the word. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.